Good morning. Happy Monday. I don't know if this episode is actually going to make it on a Monday. I have had a handful of podcast recordings that I just haven't shared. I guess I wasn't ready. I'm not ready. I don't know, but I decided to hop on camera because Podcasters has a completely new platform, yada, yada, yada. And I'm actually more comfortable on camera than I am kind of just talking out into the ether. It's probably like the acting in me. So I decided to hop on here because my phone gave me, a notification on, hey, journal about your visit to this church that you went to yesterday. Yes, I use the journaling app. We can totally talk about that another time. But I really thought about it. Sometimes I usually just like clear that notification because I have my own prompts that I use for journaling. And so I do like the prompts that my phone gives me. It's so thoughtful, right? Thank you, Siri. But I was thinking about this visit that I went to a church to yesterday. So a little bit of background about me. I was raised fairly religious. If you ask my parents that, they'd probably be like, no, we didn't raise you religious. We raised you like spiritually. Don't get me wrong, my parents are actually extremely spiritual. I am grateful to come from an Asian Eastern background for my parents to really connect with that part of themselves. And so it's something that I've carried into my adult life is a spiritualism. Anyway, so I was raised religiously. My dad came home one day from a deployment. I was, I think, 3 years old, and he goes, let's go to church. And at the time, we were holiday Catholics. And, I'm sharing a core memory right now, you guys. So we were the holiday Catholics, and my dad came home from this deployment, and all of a sudden he wanted to start going to church. And so we started doing that every Sunday. We started going to a Baptist church, and good memories, yes. Eventually that church ended up disbanding and we moved into multiple other churches. But so essentially, yes, I was raised Baptist. I know when you think of like Baptist, you probably don't think of like an Asian girl. But I was raised Baptist. We started in a Filipino church, and up until I was 9 years old when we started going to a Caucasian Baptist church. Like, whole different world, not to get xenophobic or racist or anything, right? There's just cultural differences. And I met my best friends there. I love them to pieces. And the church holds a lot of memories for me, but it also holds a lot of pain for me and trauma. Anyway, so fast forward to me going to this church yesterday. To give you an idea, I grew up extremely religious, and then I got knocked up and I did what I was supposed to do and got married just like the church told me to. And I attempted to raise a religious family. We stopped going to church so my daughter was born in 2010, and we didn't start actively going back to church again until about 2012. So about 2 years we weren't like actively religious. And then in 2012, I got really religious again. And I stayed extremely religious from 2012 to 2020 is when I started having this major deconstruction. And so between 2020 and 2024, today, I have gone to church probably 5 or 6 times. So once a year, I try to go for Easter out of my programming, right? That's what we all are. We're just programs of the things that were instilled with us, whether it was the things our parents taught us about relationships, what religion taught us, what society taught us, how we're supposed to act, how we're supposed to look. And so I stopped going to church. And to give you an idea how religious I had gotten, I was one of those people that went to church at least 3 to 4 times a week. I went for Sunday service. I went for like women's ministry. I went to go hang out with a youth group and minister to them. I played the piano on Sunday mornings. I had to practice in the middle of the week, all the things, okay? This girl was religious, and you're probably, if you've ever looked at my Instagram, you're probably thinking there's no freaking way. Anyway, so I went through this religious deconstruction. I'm still going through this religious deconstruction. I think this is something that happens for life. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. It's been 4 years of me deconstructing. And so I went to church yesterday because I had a couple of friends invite me and say, oh, hey, like, come check out a church. And let me be clear, right? Because a lot of people look at women like me who are going through religious deconstruction thinking that, oh, she's never going to come back to church again. And like, it's just not going to happen. No, it's not that. It's not that I never want to go to church ever again, right? If a friend invites me, I'll absolutely go, right? Like, I love it when people share with me the things that light them up. And if church lights you up, so sorry, we're like switching legs. If church lights you up and you want me to come, like, bask in that energy with you, I would love to do that. And so I said yes to this invitation, and those friends actually weren't able to make the service that I went to yesterday, but I went anyway because you're exactly where you're supposed to be. I know it's like backwards, but that is the motto that I live by. And so it's on my calendar, and I get the notification of, oh, if you leave now, you'll make it on time, right? And so it's like, okay, whatever. I was in like leggings, a sports bra, and like a crop top hoodie. But would I have ever showed up to church like that once upon a time? Hell no. Hell to the no. And we can talk about like church attire, all those things sometime else. But I came as I was, right? And that's what churches like to tell you, or at least some churches, like, oh, come as you are. And so I did. And I know that every time I walk into a church, no matter what religion, right, the divine is going to be present for a message, like a message for me. And sometimes I'm absolutely open and willing to receive it. And sometimes I'm not ready to receive it. And sometimes I get mad that I'm receiving it. Sometimes I'm excited to receive it. Yesterday was more of indifference, I guess. And I tend to get extremely emotional before I go to a church, which says a lot, right? Like, how is this place causing so much emotional turmoil? And I mean, I think my brain like kind of forgets sometimes in order for me to survive, right? Our brains will do some gnarly things in order for us to survive this journey. And anyway, so I go to church and I turn into the parking lot, and I immediately just have this, the feeling was just confusion of what am I doing here? Like, my kids didn't come with me. Yes, I do give my kids the option to come to church with me or not. And if they ever ask to go to church, they're like, hey, can you bring me to church? I absolutely do. But I turn into this parking lot, and I am confused. I'm a little overwhelmed, but I do know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And this lady is holding this sign that says, welcome home. gosh, it just hit me in all the feels to read that. And I got like this like prodigal son moment for a hot minute, and then I kind of like reverted back into homecomings because I used to be a military spouse. I'm in the middle of a divorce. And so to see that sign of welcome home, just feels so good, you guys, okay? And so here I am driving through the parking lot. This lady has a big smile on her face. Multiple people have multiple smiles on their faces as I'm driving into this parking lot. And I park and I immediately realize like, oh my gosh, I am in a leggings and a sports bra. And I have a crop top hoodie. Whatever. Come as you are, right? Or at least that's what they tell us. Ironically enough, that is my mom and dad's welcome mat in front of their front door. Come as you are. It makes me and my brother laugh every time. Conversation for another time. And so I park and I walk up and I take a few steps and I'm ready to like just turn around, hop in my car again and drive away. But I didn't. So I take a deep breath and I walk towards the church, and the lady that's holding, you know, a sign like, you are loved, you are valued, welcome home. I go up to her and she smiles to me and she says, good morning. And I ask her like, oh, so where's the entrance to the sanctuary? And she's like, oh, it's like right behind me. And she is just so focused on these cars that are coming in and her sign that she doesn't really have the bandwidth to give me any answers or to ask me any questions or be inquisitive, right? And it's not about her, it's not about me, it's that there was just a disconnect, right? And so she's trying to like rush me along so that she can get back to her job of smiling at the cars coming in and whoop whoop with her sign. And so I walk and I grab a cup of tea and I make my way into the sanctuary. And I have a seat and there is a countdown timer to this service starting. And the music starts, and if you know me, I love live music. I don't care what genre it is. I just love live music. I love the sound of instruments. I love the sound of people singing. I love the energy. I love the beat. I love the reverberations that happen when music is created. And I recognize that like I'm not part of this anymore. I used to really enjoy worship. I used to know all the songs and I used to belt them out loud. And it used to be an out-of-body experience for me. And was it for me yesterday? A little bit. Like there are some things, but I had recognized in that moment that I don't know these songs anymore. I don't know these people anymore. I don't belong here anymore. And before all of you religious people go, but you always belong here. No, I don't. I don't belong there anymore. And I'll tell you why. And if you take it personal, then I really implore you to do some self-reflection and sit on it. But the church, at least the American church, let's say the American Christian Church is designed for nuclear American families. It's not designed for the broken. It's not designed for the people that are grieving. The American church has been designed to uphold the institution of marriage. And I don't belong there anymore. I walked into that church by myself. I smiled at who I needed to smile. I said good morning and hello who I made eye contact with. But me being in my 30s, walking into an American church without a child, without a husband, I don't belong. You tell me welcome home. You tell me I'm valued. You tell me I'm loved. But is it only if I fit the message that you're preaching? Anyway, okay. So like I told you at the beginning of this, anytime I go into a religious institution, it doesn't matter what religion it is, I do know that the divine has something for me. And it did. So here I am with all of these feelings of, Candace, I don't belong. This is why we don't come here anymore. This is why we don't do this anymore. Why do we subject ourselves to this pain? This abandonment. It is bringing back abandonment issues. Okay. Anyway, so yesterday's sermon, they had brought up the allegory that Jesus had talked about. If you're not familiar with the Bible, that's all right. I'll tell you a little bit of background on this. I am told that I should create like a podcast on like Bible stories told from a real point of view. So this religious leader goes up to Jesus Christ and he goes, how do I live forever? And Jesus goes, well, what do you think? Don't you just love Jesus? Study the Bible, get to know Jesus. Hilarious character, super down to earth. The sarcasm in his humor. Oh, okay. Jesus goes, so what do you think? And this religious leader goes, you gotta love the Lord with all your heart, your mind, your soul. Oh, and by the way, love your neighbor as yourself, duh. And Jesus just goes, yeah, I agree. And this religious leader goes, seriously? That's the answer you're gonna give me is, I agree. And he, this religious leader goes, well, Jesus, who's my neighbor? And Jesus enters this allegory of the Good Samaritan. I don't know if you've ever heard the Good Samaritan story, but essentially what it is this guy is on the side of the road. He's half dead, bleeding to death, ready to just, kick the can. And it talks about how a religious leader sees this man and was like, ew, gross. I don't have time for that. And the Bible says, Jesus says, this religious leader turns away, ignores him, and walks directly to the other side of the road. The second person that stops by is like, ooh, no, I'm kind of busy. I got kids to take to soccer. I got a doctor's appointment to go to. I don't even have any money. I can't even carry this guy. Bye. Not exactly that, but you know what I mean. The third person that passes by this man on the road who is half dead, right, is what we call a Samaritan. Or I should say the Bible calls a Samaritan. To give you guys an idea on Samaritans, they are like, ooh, they're no people. The Jews did not talk to Samaritans. They did not look at Samaritans. They did not give a flying fuck about Samaritans. Okay? A shiska. And Jesus says that this Samaritan sees this man on the side of the road after a religious leader had passed him, assistant had passed him, and now the Samaritan, who at the time, in biblical times, the audience would have expected the Samaritan to not help at all. If anything, the Samaritan was probably going to rob this man of what was on him already, but he didn't. And so the Samaritan man goes over, bandages this guy up, does that fireman carry over his shoulder. Let me help you out. Hikes his way over to a hotel, aka an inn. And he gets to the front desk, and the front desk man is like, whoa, what's over your shoulder, dude? And he's like, this man is dying, but I gotta get going. He goes, this is what I'm gonna do. You're gonna take this man, you're gonna put him in a bed, he's gonna rest up. I'm gonna pay for 2 days, but he might need more than 2 days. So you know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna come back, and I'm going to pay everything. This Samaritan says, however long this man needs, I will take care of it. I will pay it. He is good for it. And the innkeeper goes, all right, dude, I got you. And the Samaritan goes on his way. Anyway, so this is the allegory that Jesus uses. And I have heard this allegory for years and years and years of my life, right? Because I grew up religious. And the takeaway I had always gotten from this message was, be a good Samaritan. Don't be a religious nut or leader. And I lived my life that way. Like, let us be the good Samaritan. And I can think of multiple moments in my life that I did abide to that. And I can think of multiple points in my life that I didn't. But that was actually not the takeaway that I got yesterday, you guys. And so I'm listening to this story, just thinking, yeah, I've heard this. Be the good Samaritan. Be the good Samaritan. Damn it, I have been the good Samaritan. And the pastor pauses for a hot moment. And he said something that completely took me out to left field. This pastor goes, he goes, I know there's someone in here right now who's listening to this. And you're probably thinking, well, I'm not the religious leader. I'm not the assistant. I'm not the good Samaritan. He goes, you're probably half dead on the side of the road. Shit. It's exactly what it felt like when I left the church. It's exactly what I felt like when I started deconstructing all of these beliefs. Being left half dead on the side of the road. And for the first time in 4 years, I felt like the church saw me. And I realize now that wasn't the church that saw me, but it was the universe. Sometimes all we need at a moment in time is to just be seen. And I really hope that wherever you're at on this journey, that you experience those moments, because you're absolutely worthy and deserving of it. Seen for all who you are. I walked out of that church yesterday through the side door when the service was over. And I even made my way towards the welcoming blue tables to connect. Because if you're new here, we want to connect with you. I did. No one made eye contact. No one smiled at me. No one asked me my name. And I walked down the steps with my head held high and my spine tall and my heart out and my shoulders down, knowing that as long as my Creator sees me, that is all the worth and value that I need. I don't share this to bag on a church. I don't share this to bag on any churches. I share it because it's my journey and because I know I'm not the only one that has experiences like this. And I know that being lonely is not how we were created to be. Will I go back to that church? Probably. When my Creator says, hey, I have something for you over there. Can you please go? I will go. Am I still angry with the church? I absolutely am. Don't get it twisted. I'm extremely angry. I did everything the church told me to do. I stayed celibate for as long as I could. And then when I couldn't and I got pregnant, I got married when they told me to. When they even said, well, you have to get married, but you can't get married in our church because you're already defiled. I said, oh, okay. And I had another kid, and I went multiple times a week. I did exactly what they told me to. And when I couldn't anymore, I could not anymore, they said good riddance. That's a little bit about yesterday's church. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have a similar experience. Let me know if you're still religious. Let's talk. Good to see you.